SpaceX is always trying to raise money. And in this current climate of huge rocket launches like the Starship and also the Falcon Heavy and the current Falcon 9, SpaceX is in talks to raise a funding round that values the rocket launch company about $150 billion. And this is a jump up from the $125 billion valuation from earlier this year. Elon and SpaceX need to continue raising money because the Starship program is such a huge leap forward in rocketry. Human spaceflight will rely on the Starship missions for the HLS NASA missions to the moon for Artemis 3. And SpaceX is kind of in a crunch time right now. They only have a few years to get this right. And currently, down at Boca Chica, Texas, they're testing Starship. They just did a massive 14-engine static fire of the rocket yesterday. And the next static fire that's coming up is probably going to be a 21-engine static fire. And then after that, the full 33 engines will fire. And it's going to be the most powerful rocket that humankind has ever built. So what they need to do with this rocket is they need to make it human capable because people will be going from the rocket to the surface of the moon. Now, they're not going to launch on the rocket. And that's a weird thing that's happening right now is that they're building a system where the booster is static firing, which needs to send the Starship into space. And then the Starship will have to dock with the Orion capsule in the orbit of the moon. And then from the Orion capsule, the people get out of the Orion capsule, get into the Starship, and go down to the surface of the moon. So basically, they need this money coming in so they can fund this project, which is an insanely huge engineering feat. No one's ever done anything like this before. The Starship itself is 125 feet tall. It's about 150 feet tall altogether. The huge booster and the Starship on top of each other, 400 feet tall, bigger than the SLS rocket, the biggest rocket that's ever been built. They need this cash influx for these systems and also for Starlink, because they need to build out the Starlink version 2 systems that will be in orbit around Earth, giving relatively lack of, let's just say a better way to say this would be people with barely any internet in rural areas. It's giving them the capability to have high-speed internet access at gaming speeds, streaming speeds, etc. So they need the money to build out this infrastructure. They need billions of dollars to do this. And people that are coming in to fund it, now they're at a market cap of 150 billion, according to sources close to the funding round. Now, commercial space launch is SpaceX's thing. The company spends tons of money sending payloads to orbit for private sector companies, for private sector customers, for NASA, and other government agencies like the Department of Defense and the Space Force. It also sends spaceships to the International Space Station with astronauts on board. So they do this for NASA. They have contracts with NASA for the upcoming few years up until the launch of the human spaceflight number 7 to the International Space Station. And they've already done private space tourism with civilians in the Dragon capsule. So SpaceX needs the funding to continue building these operations so they can continue these pieces of their business going forward. The Falcon 9 rocket, it is a very great rocket. It continues to outperform even what SpaceX thought it was going to be able to do. And they keep adding to it and they build upon it. And right now it's a very sustainable business model. Lots of customers, like I said before. Department of Defense is a huge one. NASA's a huge one too. I got to tell you about Backblaze. Unlimited computer backups for Mac and PC for just $7 a month. Back up your documents, your music, your photos, your videos, drawings, any of your data on any of your devices, and access your backed up data from any in the world using the web app or the iOS or Android apps. You can restore it by mail too. This is cool. You can get a hard drive shipped to your door. And so you can take that hard drive, you can put it on your computer, and then you can put it on a thumb drive or an external hard drive or anywhere that you want to. And you have the option to send that hard drive back. It's called the Restore Return Refund Program. So you buy the hardware, the hard drive, and then you can send it back to them and you get a refund. So you send it back within 30 days, you get a full refund for that. It's pretty amazing. Like there's no hassle when you do that. And if you're worried about accidentally deleting your files, you pay an extra just $2 a month to increase your retention history for a year. They've served over 55 billion files to customers. They've restored that many files for customers, and I use it. It's pretty simple. I went down to Starbase, Texas, where SpaceX has their Starship program for 10 months, and I filmed down there every single day. I have terabytes of video footage from down there. It was easy to use, simple, affordable, secure, and it gave me the peace of mind of all those terabytes of files that were possibly going to get deleted sometime if my hard drive crashed. So now they're on Backblaze. So you can check this out. You can receive a fully featured 15-day, no credit card required free trial at backblaze.com/Elon. Go there, check it out, play with it, start protecting yourself and your files from potential bad times. Go check it out today. It's recommended by a lot of important people. New York Times, Inc., Macworld, PC World, LifeWire, Wired, Tom's Guide, 9 to 5 Mac, so you know they're trusted. And they're recently listed on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange under BLZE, so they have the back end to keep supporting this. Backblaze is committed to bringing easy and affordable data storage that you can trust. I trust them. I would check them out if I were you. Don't be that person that forgot to back up your important files. We've got your back. Sign up for a free 15-day trial. No credit card required when you sign up at backblaze.com/Elon. That's backblaze.com/Elon. If you need to back up any files, anything, documents, anything, photos, anything, backblaze.com/Elon. But these private companies, they're going to be coming up in the next decade or 2 decades, and they're building out what's going to be the infrastructure for human spaceflight in the future. So Musk leads the company, the world's richest man, and he has all of his stock throughout all of his companies, including Tesla, SpaceX, Boring Company, etc. You know, he said that Starlink eventually may go public on its own. And that's a huge deal because if Starlink, if they can make money just by selling little pieces of Starlink stock, and they can do that separately than SpaceX, that's a whole huge revenue stream for them that could continue funding the other space operations, such as Starship, Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, things like that for the future. So these funding rounds, very important for Starship, very important for Falcon 9, very important for human spaceflight, no matter how you think about it. If you don't want people living on Mars, that's fine. They have things that they're doing here on the Earth that are helping people here on Earth. If you don't care about people going to the moon, that's fine too, because they're sending satellites up to help people here on Earth. And also, you know, the satellites that they're doing, they're emergency satellites in the future. They've partnered with T-Mobile to bring this kind of connectivity to people in the way out places, basically. If you're hiking or say if you're snowmobiling in the desert someplace, you'll have internet connectivity, at least to send an SOS signal. So Starlinks are going to be helping build that infrastructure out. And they said, you know, they're going to be spending $30 billion to maintain Starlink. So $30 billion, of course you have to raise money. You have to raise money a little bit at a time. And from 125 to $150 billion, that's a substantial chunk of change, $25 billion. And at more than $150 billion, right, SpaceX could beat out ByteDance as the most valuable privately held company. And that's a huge thing because TikTok is a huge juggernaut in the social media space. And ByteDance is the most valuable held company at this point. So we can see that SpaceX is going to be not just into space at some point, but they're going to be branching out into other things in the future. The Starlink, of course, that's in space, but things down here on Earth as well, like the satellites that people get the Starlink internet from. They have to spend the money on that. They have to build out that system. And that's what's going to be happening with all of this money that is being put into this latest round of funds. So SpaceX, $150 billion valuation at this point. It's a great time to invest in SpaceX if you know how to get in there. There's sort of back channels you have to go through, and you have to have X amount of dollars. See what I did there? SpaceX, X amount of dollars to get in, because you can't just come in with a couple $100. You have to have a lot of money to invest in this, unless you know some people that know some people. You got to know some people to get in there. So 150 billion, looking good for SpaceX, and we're hoping for more investments in the future for SpaceX to grow and another Elon Musk company to get bigger and better as they go. And there's been rumors that Gwen Shotwell has moved down to Texas, well, Starbase, Texas, I should say, to head up the Starbase and the Starship program. So there's going to be another episode about that, because that's a huge deal for Gwen. And also, somebody from Tesla is going to be moving over to SpaceX to help out with the Starbase and Starship program, which is another huge deal because that person was in charge of manufacturing at Tesla. So that's going to be another episode. Make sure to subscribe on whatever platform you're on right now so you can get the latest and greatest of SpaceX.